Hi, I'm Tyler.
And I'm Sadie with Great Catholic Book Club. And welcome to our March Book of the Month, Watchmen, by Alan Moore and David Gibbons.
This has been your favorite book for a long time, one of them.
Yeah, this is my well-worn, very beaten-up copy of Watchmen.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't there? We actually own 2 copies of
we
this.
Do.
Because I think I gave you a copy.
Yep.
You for Christmas.
You gave me a copy for Christmas a few years ago. And I finally read it.
only took 10 years, but you read it for the book club.
And it's excellent.
It is
so good.
So unlike all the other books on our list, this is a comic book, a graphic novel, and it's beautifully illustrated. Yep. I thought your joke was really funny about wondering if there was an audiobook version.
So our theme for this book is means and ends and the use of power. And we are going to be looking at this book through the Catholic lens so that we can talk about that and we can really get into what our perception of God is and how that impacts what we think about power and how we use it.
Yeah, because how you conceptualize God not only affects your sense of who you are, like what it means to be human, but it also affects our idea of power. Because we were talking about this, and before we came to the church, I know for me, and I think for you as well, our idea of God was really built by a lot of atheist memes. Like God is like the flying spaghetti monster, or those crazy people that believe, in an old bearded man in the sky. And those are all conceptions of God that make him a being, like an all-powerful being. It is a being that is within creation and just happens to be the most powerful being within creation. Yeah. And so by that definition, God is whoever can exert his will or coerce the most effectively. Right? So that's what power means. And that's why that's God, because he can do whatever he wants without limit. Yeah, and that's the kind of God we see here in Watchmen with Dr. Manhattan. He is simply a very, very powerful figure. He's able to bend reality to his will, but he is still a creation that exists within reality. Yeah, somebody made him. Well, and it wasn't until we came to the Catholic Church that we were introduced to a concept of God, not as a being, but as beingness itself. I think that's how Bishop Barron described it. I like that, yeah. But God as something that exists outside of all created order. And this is such a radically different way of thinking of God. And that changes the definition of God being defined as having the most superior ability to do his will or to exert control into what the Catholic Church teaches about the fundamental attributes that define God, which is perfect integrity. God is incorruptible. Because God is perfect truth, perfect goodness, and perfect beauty. Actually, the concept of truth and goodness and beauty itself, and those things are incorruptible. So by that definition, what does power look like? Well, it doesn't look like coercive domination. Right? And I think that is the kind of God that the characters of Watchmen are thinking about. It's the power to control the Russians and stop them from being able to attack America, right? So they see God as sort of an uber weapon. But the Catholic definition of a God and power is that it is the thing that cannot be made to sin, cannot be made to do harm, and is defined by its unchangeability. And that is a very different definition of power. Yes. That turns power into, rather than being the ability to get what you want from something, it turns power into a love and concern for those that you have sort of a protective authority over. Right, because under the Catholic teaching, power is stewardship, right? It's a responsibility. It's an obligation to nurture and protect those over whom you have responsibility. That's why God is the good father, right? Because he watches over and stewards. He doesn't abandon or domineer over what he creates. He loves what he creates. Yeah. So we can see how this definition of God leads the characters to do some very interesting things. Yeah, and also how they justify and rationalize those things. Because if you think God is defined by coercive power or domination, that is going to create a moral landscape that allows for the justification of things that the Catholic Church would not say are justified.
Right.
And I loved this book a long time before we ever came to the church. But now, reading it in light of the teachings of the church, it is so breathtakingly beautiful. And we're so excited to talk about it with all of you.
Our next meeting of the Great Catholic Book Club is going to be on March 31st, on Monday.
Coming right up.
Where we're going to discuss Watchmen, and I'm really excited to see you guys there. If you want, you can still head over to our website. It's greatcatholicbookclub.com/join. You can then, if you go ahead and join, you will get a Zoom link.
And I cannot believe that our kids have been quiet for this long. None of them are sleeping. And that normally means we can't hear ourselves think. But we were blessed to be able to actually get this entire video done.
Yep.
And say deep things. Like our brains are allowed to work when it's a little bit quiet in this house.
That doesn't happen often.
Yeah. Yeah. And the lack of sleep means they're about at 50% capacity anyway. But
Good day.
anyway, we can't wait to see you guys on Monday. God bless.
Yep. God bless.